Now, as the world reels from the tragedy of the police shootings in Dallas, officers are releasing new details on the robot bomb that was used to kill the gunman, Micah Johnson.
Robots have been part of US police tactics for years for surveillance and hostage situations, but the decision to use a robot to kill is unprecedented. Dr. Stephen Coleman from the University of New South Wales, Canberra, joins us now. Good morning, Stephen. How was this bomb robot used to end this deadly ambush?
Well, it seems that they've used a bomb disposal robot in a very different way. They've jury-rigged an explosive to it. They've moved that robot in close to the suspect and then they've detonated the bomb, thus killing him. It is something that has been done in war zones. I know that US troops have jury-rigged explosives to robots in Afghanistan and Iraq and so on, but it's certainly the first time that police have done anything like this.
And it's one thing, as you say, for the military to use this sort of technique, but is this the way that policing is heading, particularly in the US, where we know the prevalence of guns is so high? Is it becoming more high-tech and more like the military?
Look, there are a lot of concerns about the militarisation of policing in the US. The US police do use a lot of military equipment. It's certainly more militarised there than it is in Australia, for example. I think a lot of the US police departments actually have robots that they use for various things like hostage negotiation situations, for bomb disposal and so on. Is this something that could be done theoretically in the future somewhere else? Obviously, it is something that could be done. Is it really, really problematic? I would say yes, absolutely, it is problematic.
And why?
I think that police have actually got a duty to try and take a person into custody. Certainly the military might say, well, this person's an enemy combatant, we're just going to kill them. From all we know at the moment in this particular situation in Dallas, it seems that the guy was cornered. He wasn't an immediate threat to anyone except himself. Police asked him to surrender. He refused. There was some exchange of gunfire, but the police were undercover, so they weren't going to get hit by anything. They were trying to end the situation, but they didn't try to take him into custody. They just said, no, we're going to kill him. And I think that that is, in fact, a serious problem. Obviously, if you're going to
killed 5 people, like he'd shot dead 5 people, and they had been negotiating with him for hours. Surely they have got a case here to do something like this. Will there be any legal ramifications, you think, for what the police have done?
Look, the laws on the use of deadly force by police in the US are somewhat different from what they are in Australia. If this had happened in Australia, I think there probably would be legal ramifications. I think it will probably be considered to be okay in the US. But I still think that it's problematic to just say, well, look, this guy deserves to die, we're going to kill him. In fact, it's almost a symptom of what they were protesting about with the Black Lives Matter and protests in the first place, that the police have decided, well, our lives are more important than yours, we're just going to kill you. This particular situation, sure, lots of people are going to say, well, this guy deserved what he got. But there's plenty of other situations where police might have said, well, we're just going to kill this person, and it turns out, well, this person hasn't in fact done anything wrong, you've made a bad choice. That's where I think the problem lies.
Obviously, policing is much different here in Australia, but we also have robots at our disposal for our police. We know that they're used in bomb detonation situations as well, and in drug situations. Could we see a similar role for robots within our own country?
As I said, I think the legal situation here is very different. Police are only allowed to use deadly force to protect themselves or somebody else against an immediate threat. If this guy had had hostages, then maybe something like the use of a robot might be justified. But if he had hostages, they certainly wouldn't have used an explosive because that would have killed the hostages as well. They might, for example, have decided, well, we'll use a robot and explode a tear gas canister. That would be a very different situation. I think that would be perfectly reasonable in a case like this, where they're saying, well, they have to end this situation. If it had been tear gas they'd used rather than explosive, then they would have been still making an attempt to take this guy into custody, put him before the courts. But it isn't the police's job to decide who deserves to die and who doesn't. It's the police's job to put the person who is alleged to have committed this offence before the court and let the court decide.
So you think we're blurring the lines between policing and warfare?
In the US, certainly, and that has in fact been happening for a long time, and I think that is actually part of the situation that's being protested about with the Black Lives Matter protests.
All right, Stephen, great to get your insights this morning. It's an ethical minefield and a good topic to debate. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Jane.